In 399 BC, the most intellectually dangerous man in Athens walked into a courtroom. He carried no weapon. He commanded no army. He held no political office. He asked questions, and a jury of 500 citizens voted to end his life for it. Here's what nobody tells you about that story. The jury wasn't wrong. Socrates was dangerous, just not in the way they thought. We've been taught to see his execution as a tragedy of ignorance, a wise man destroyed by a fearful crowd. That reading is comfortable. It lets us place ourselves on the right side of history without doing anything. But read Plato's Apology carefully, the actual transcript of Socrates defending himself, and a different picture surfaces. Socrates spent decades walking through Athens asking one question in different forms. You believe you know this. Do you, actually? Every single time, the person left the conversation smaller than they entered it. And here's the part that cuts deeper. These weren't stupid people. These were the most educated, most respected minds in one of history's greatest cities. They just had never been asked to examine what they believed and why. There's a word for what Socrates was doing. He called it αλλάξει, a method of cross-examination that strips away assumption until only what's actually true remains standing. Most people interpret this as humility, a philosophical exercise in saying, I know nothing. That interpretation misses the entire point. Socrates wasn't teaching humility. He was teaching precision. The difference matters enormously. Humility says, I might be wrong. Precision says, show me exactly where my reasoning breaks down. One is a posture. The other is a surgical instrument. What got Socrates killed wasn't doubt. It was the systematic, public, relentless exposure of the gap between what powerful people claimed to know and what they could actually defend. The Athenians didn't fear a man who doubted. They feared a man who could prove, in front of everyone, that their certainties were constructed on sand. Now consider what we've built in the centuries since. Education systems that reward the retrieval of correct answers, not the interrogation of whether the questions themselves are worth asking. Social media architectures that optimize for the speed of opinion, not the depth of reasoning. Cultures where the person who says I changed my mind gets treated with suspicion, while the person who holds their position, regardless of evidence, gets called consistent. We didn't kill Socrates once. We built entire institutions to make sure his method stays inconvenient. The question he asked, do you actually know what you think you know, remains the most destabilizing sentence in any conversation. Try it tonight. In any discussion about anything. Watch what happens to the room. Here's the real reason Socrates matters in 2026. The world has more information than any civilization in history. Search engines answer questions in milliseconds. AI summarizes books in seconds. And yet, the capacity to examine a belief, to trace it back to its foundation and ask whether it holds, that capacity atrophies without use. Socrates didn't die because Athens was primitive. He died because intellectual honesty, taken seriously, threatens every structure built on unexamined agreement. The question survives him. Do you actually know what you think you know? That's the axiom.